Her home was gone, her parents dead, and all her brothers slain, but Jon Snow on the wall. That was where she had wanted to go. She told the captain as much, but even the iron coin did not sway him.
Braavos is a wonderful city, full of grey fog, grey cats, grey architecture, grey roads, grey temples, and grey days. Braavos is all stone, a grey city in a green sea. Our girl in grey is thoroughly in grey again.
We've come a long way, so let's touch base for a moment.
This prophecy is sprawling, and it pulls from every book in the series. But we're up to Feast Dance now, and we're in the home stretch. We're on the lookout for grey as ash, a thin coat of ice just forming on God's eye, and Arya still needs to crumble and blow away.
As part of Arya's initiation into the House of Black and White, she had to throw away her identity and all of the belongings that go with that. One by one, she tossed her things into the canal. But she couldn't throw away Needle. "It's just a sword," she said, aloud this time. But it wasn't. Needle was Robb and Bran and Rickon, her mother and her father, even Sansa. Needle was Winterfell's grey walls and the laughter of its people. Needle was the summer snows, old Nan's stories, the heart tree with its red leaves and scary face, the warm earthy smell of the glass gardens, the sound of the north wind rattling the shutters of her room. Needle was Jon Snow's smile. "He used to mess my hair and call me little sister," she remembered, and suddenly there were tears in her eyes. She padded up the steps as naked as her name day, clutching Needle. Halfway up, one of the stones rocked beneath her feet. Arya knelt and dug around its edges with her fingers. It would not move at first, but she persisted, picking at the crumbling mortar with her nails. Finally, the stone shifted. She grunted and got both hands in and pulled. A crack opened before her. "You'll be safe here," she told Needle. "No one will know where you are but me." There's a word we're looking for. See how the author can incite the prophecy by using the same word from it? You can almost make a case that this is where the girl in grey crumbled. We just had a passage about how Needle represents Arya's identity, and now she's hiding Needle in the crumbling mortar. But I think we have to reject this, because we're not looking for crumbling mortar, we're looking for crumbling Arya. It's so close and so tempting to do the mental gymnastics required to make this fit the prophecy. Intentional or not, I think this crumbling is a trap.
At Harrenhal, Jaqen H'ghar changed his face using magic. Remember this scene? My time is done. Jaqen passed a hand down his face from forehead to chin, and where it went he changed. His cheeks grew fuller, his eyes closer, his nose hooked. A scar appeared on his right cheek where no scar had been before, and when he shook his head, his long straight hair, half red and half white, dissolved away to reveal a cap of tight black curls. Arya's mouth hung open. "Who are you?" she whispered, too astonished to be afraid. "How did you do that? Was it hard?" He grinned, revealing a shiny gold tooth. "No harder than taking a new name, if you know the way." "Show me," she blurted. "I want to do it too." "If you would learn, you must come with me." So that's what Arya really wants to learn from the Faceless Men. She's constantly revealing her shallow motivation to the kindly man. He's patient with her, but I get a sense that he knows that Arya isn't quite drinking the Kool-Aid yet. She doesn't really believe what they believe, and she doesn't seem to fully grasp what it requires to become no one.
"Will you show me how to change my face?"
"If you wish."
He cupped her chin in his hand and turned her head.
"Puff up your cheeks and stick out your tongue."
Arya puffed up her cheeks and stuck out her tongue.
"There, your face is changed."
"That's not how I meant. Jaqen used magic."
"All sorcery comes at a cost, child. Years of prayer and sacrifice and study are required to work a proper glamour."
"Years?" she said, dismayed.
"If it were easy, all men would do it. You must walk before you run. Why use a spell where Mummer's tricks will serve?"
"I don't know any Mummer's tricks either." So Mummer's tricks are exactly what Arya gets to use. Her vision is taken away with a potion, and she lives undercover as Blind Beth, selling clams at the Ragman's harbor. Blind Beth still thinks of Jon Snow at the Wall. But they were all dead now, even Arya. Everyone but her half-brother, Jon. Some nights she heard talk of him in the taverns and brothels of the Ragman's harbor. The Black Bastard of the Wall, one man had called him. Even Jon would never know Blind Beth, I bet. That made her sad. It seems that Arya's entire story, from beginning to end, is essentially a race to Jon Snow at the Wall. As part of her training, Arya is expected to return periodically to the Kindly Man, with news of 3 new things she has learned while undercover. It's meant to be an exercise in observation for her, and the 3 pieces of news can be just about anything, as long as they're new.
Some men say there's wisdom in wine. Such men are fools. At other inns, other names are being bruited about. Never doubt.
He took another bite of egg, chewed, swallowed.
What 3 new things do you know that you did not know before?
I know that some men are saying that Tormo Friggar will surely be the new Sea Lord. Some drunken men.
Better. And what else do you know?
It is snowing in the Riverlands. In Westeros, she almost said. But he would have asked her how she knew that, and she did not think that he would like her answer. It actually is snowing in the Riverlands, because we can see it in Jaime Lannister's chapters. But how does Arya know that? And why wouldn't the Kindly Man like her answer? Arya saw snow in the Riverlands, in a dream. Her nights were lit by distant stars and the shimmer of moonlight on snow, but every dawn she woke to darkness. She opened her eyes and stared up blind at the black that shrouded her, her dream already fading. So beautiful. She licked her lips, remembering. The bleating of the sheep, the terror in the shepherd's eyes, the sound the dogs had made as she killed them one by one, the snarling of her pack. Game had become scarcer since the snows began to fall, but last night they had feasted. Her direwolf Nymeria is still roaming the Riverlands, and Arya is still working into her when she sleeps. We're getting closer and closer to seeing a thin coat of ice just forming on God's Eye, which is what we've been looking for all along. But snow isn't quite ice, and the Riverlands isn't specifically God's Eye. The Kindly Man has tried to express to Arya the seriousness of becoming a faceless man. He has told her in so many words that initiation includes blindness, deafness, that she's going to be crippled and crawling. They're even going to take her private parts. She'll have no family, no name, and her face will not be her own. But Arya is severely damaged and persistent. She thought of all the names that she had worn. Ari, Weasel, Squab, Cat of the Canals. She thought of that stupid girl from Winterfell called Arya Horseface. Names did not matter. I can pay the price. Give me a face. So the Kindly Man finally led Arya underground, into the 3rd level beneath the temple. Then came a tug and a soft rustling as the new face was pulled down over the old. The leather scraped across her brow, dry and stiff, but as her blood soaked into it, it softened and turned supple. Her cheeks grew warm, flushed. She could feel her heart fluttering beneath her breast, and for one long moment she could not catch her breath. Hands closed around her throat, hard as stone, choking her. Her own hands shot up to claw at the arms of her attacker, but there was no one there. A terrible sense of fear filled her, and she heard a noise, a hideous crunching noise accompanied by blinding pain. A face floated in front of her, fat, bearded, brutal, his mouth twisted with rage. She heard the priest say, "Breathe, child. Breathe out the fear. Shake off the shadows. He is dead. She is dead. Her pain is gone. Breathe." The girl took a deep, shuddering breath and realized it was true. No one was choking her. No one was hitting her. Even so, her hand was shaking, and she raised it to her face. Flakes of dried blood crumbled at the touch of her fingertips. black in the lantern light. She felt her cheeks, touched her eyes, traced the line of her jaw. My face is still the same.
Is it? Are you certain?
Arya's identity has changed many times throughout the story with artifice. She has taken different names, worn different clothes, and even begun learning how to control her expressions. But for the first time ever, Arya's identity changed with magic, and Arya crumbled. Around about the same time that this transformation was taking place, 2 months earlier, across the narrow sea was a red priestess at the wall, who looked into a fire at a vision of a girl in gray, who, even as I watched, she crumbled and blew away. It looks like Arya got her wish. Remember, she wanted a certain red priest to find her in the flames. It doesn't matter, Arya told herself. Thoros will find me in his flames. Only he hadn't. Not yet, anyway. It just wasn't the red priest she thought it would be. I think Arya is really shaping up to be the girl in grey from the prophecy, who will eventually arrive at the wall to meet Jon Snow. But I want to talk about the prophet right now, Melisandre. Because this is too cool to ignore. We have to go all the way back to the beginning. When Jon Snow and Melisandre had that first meeting beneath the wall. In the first telling of the prophecy that we were supposed to protect, Melisandre said all along that the girl she saw in her fires is Jon Snow's sister. But don't feel too bad, because there's a very good reason we ignored that part. I think this might be the dirtiest trick that the author played on us. Right before we went into the vision, we had this passage. Many a priest and priestess before her had been brought down by false visions, by seeing what they wished to see, instead of what the Lord of Light had sent. We were primed to spot Melisandre's bias, and to reject it. Melisandre clearly wants the girl to be Arya, so that she can tell Jon it's Arya. She's just seeing what she wished to see. Therefore, the girl isn't Arya. And besides, we know that Arya is far away from Jon Snow at the wall, and won't likely be there anytime soon. Everything about the situation leads us to dismiss the idea that the girl is Arya. Melisandre began to doubt herself and what she saw in the flames. I was not wrong. You were not right. Alice is not Arya. The vision was a true one. It was my reading that was false. I am as mortal as you, Jon Snow. All mortals err. But deep down, she could never shake the strong sense that she was right about what she saw the first time. I have seen your sister in my fires. I have seen it plain as day. It has not happened yet, but it will. Jon Snow's sister. Who else could it be? That much Melisandre had seen clearly. These pieces that we couldn't explain before, they're beginning to make sense now. I know what you're thinking. Whoa, hold on. You're missing 3 parts of the prophecy. Arya needs to be grey as ash. She needs to blow away. And there needs to be a thin coat of ice just forming on God's eye. I gotta level with you. I haven't found grey as ash. I looked everywhere for Arya's ashy description. I don't know what that is. Maybe you'll have better luck. But I think I found potential foreshadowing for it. During Arya's time in the Riverlands, she visited a place called High Heart. It's a really big hill that used to be sacred to the children of the forest. And there's an old prophetic woods witch there, who people call the Ghost of High Heart. Arya met the Ghost of High Heart, and here was the witch's reaction to Arya. The dwarf woman studied her with dim, red eyes.
I see you,
she whispered.
I see you, wolf child, blood child. I thought it was the Lord who smelled of death.
She began to sob, her little body shaking.
You are cruel to come to my hill, cruel. I gorged on grief at Summerhall. I need none of yours. Begone from here, dark heart! Begone!
There was such fear in her voice that Arya took a step backward, wondering if the woman was mad. Don't frighten the child, Thoros protested. There's no harm in her. Arya has certainly done her share of dark things. She killed a stable boy in King's Landing, a Bolton guard at Harrenhal, the Bloody Mummers. She killed Polliver and a squire boy, and the insurance man in Braavos. But if the ghost of Highheart can see the future, and the future she saw in Arya reminded her of the tragedy at Summerhall, the fiery event of the century, well, Arya hasn't done anything yet remotely comparable to the tragedy at Summerhall. So maybe she's due. And if something like Summerhall were to happen in Arya's future, maybe that's when she'll be grey as ash. Or maybe not. Tell me what you think. I figure the blew away part of the vision could be when Arya sailed across the narrow sea. But the vision seems to imply a chronological order. She crumbled first and blew away second. So I don't like the voyage as an answer. Blew away could also simply be the vision dissipating. Melisandre lost the signal because some other type of faceless magic interfered. I think that's logically sound, but metaphorically unsatisfying. So I tend to reject that interpretation too. Maybe Arya will blow away in the next windy installment of the series. The thin coat of ice just forming on it. I can't in good conscience give it away. But I figure you might appreciate the opportunity to puzzle it out yourself. It's time to give credit where credit is due. My fellow fans and theorists, the Ice and Fire Reddit, the Pure Ice and Fire Reddit, Westeros.org, Radio Westeros. The artists, who were far more generous than I had feared. You can find all of the art and music down below. Give them some love. And of course George R.R. Martin, for giving us a great story in A Song of Ice and Fire. This is my first attempt at this sort of thing, so let me know what you liked and didn't like. I like to work closely with the text, and I'm not sure if I'm overstepping any copyright bounds with this project. If it's sustainable and people like it, then I'll try to do more. Alright, his Darzu Mo Snip Snaps. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to scroll down and press all the buttons. If you don't know how to do that, how did you even get here? That's a miracle. I'm not helping you. Now you are truly lost.
Shake off the shadows. Better.